save it to my computer. And I'm looking at our page. Okay, there we go. Got it. Hello, everyone. If you saw me a second ago fumbling around, making sure that we are live, we are doing the TAP Talk for the month of September with Julie Webb, who is going to introduce herself. And before she presents, I want you to know that this talk will be on the blog section of our website. She's going to go through the slides. We will have a copy of the slides with links for you to reference later. So do know that everything we talk about will be available to you. So we are going to jump right in. We have Julie Webb, who, like I said, will introduce herself and Life's Essential 8. So here we go. I'm going to pin Julie so you can see her and not me. And take it away, Julie.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We are going to talk about the American Heart Association Life's Essential 8 today. I'm Julie Webb. I am the Neurosciences Program Manager at Duke Regional Hospital, and that covers the stroke program. And the majority of what I do is around stroke and the side effects of stroke and just care of the stroke patient from beginning to end, including prevention. So a lot of what we're going to talk today about is about prevention, as well as around just healthy life goals as well. The American Heart Association has this great information here called Life's Essential 8. And if you go on the American Heart Association website, you can look up a lot of different information, and I'll have links for each of the categories as well. But each category has these little PDFs or information sheets for you, and it really goes over a lot of information. American Heart Association is just not about just heart. It's about healthy living, and it's about also stroke prevention and just healthy living overall. And a couple of things we're going to touch on today really talk on more than just heart, and it talks around just overall health and ways to maintain health, improve your health, and that sort of thing. I also want to mention that there is no age limit to this. American Heart has done a really great job of not only providing information around adult health care and health improvement, but also around some children's health improvement as well. And so some of the categories here include some children information or kid information, and there's even a Life Essential 8 for kids. So it's not just about adults. But we will touch mostly on adults today. These are the top 8 categories for Life's Essential 8. And it wasn't that long ago that I found these on the AHA website. A lot of what I do around stroke care is gear from and pulled from the American Heart. We use it a lot for our patient education here in the Duke system. And overall, just really follow their guidelines around heart and cardiovascular care, which in turn is also a part of our stroke care. And so, as you can see, these are not things that you didn't already know or haven't heard, but it does tend to kind of put the whole picture together. And I think we hear so many things. If you're watching live on Facebook today, or if you see this on Facebook, then you're part of social media, and there's a lot of information out there. And sometimes it becomes a little bit of overload. So this helps us narrow it down just a bit. The first thing we all know is that we should eat better, right? And we need vegetables and fruits and whole grains and beans and poultry, fish, and seafood, and lean animal proteins are what is our main goals here. We want to limit any of those sweets, all the good stuff we have to limit. So those refined carbohydrates, processed foods, and full fat dairy. I think as we go to the grocery store, you see that all the good stuff is kind of in the middle, and there's just a lot of processed foods out there these days, and a lot of just unhealthy foods. If you're from the South, you may have grown up on fried foods, and they're so good, but they're so bad for you, and there's a lot of saturated fat in those. And we just want to limit those. One thing that I am not great at, but that has helped me by looking at this American Heart content is really reading those labels. American Heart also has a little heart check on a lot of different, especially canned goods around lower sodium and that sort of thing. And so if you look for that American Heart check, you know it's a healthier option for you. And so that is a good way to buy that, especially I've seen it a lot on soups and that sort of thing. And we use soups not just for soup, but sometimes as a piece of a recipe. So if you want to look for that heart check and then look for a little lower sodium content and a little healthier content there. Other things that you want to think about and that we kind of get stuck with is full fat dairy, right? Like ice cream is my weakness, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one that has that problem. But it's those full fat options. But remember, not all fats are bad fats. There are good, healthy fats out there. We just have to understand the content of the foods that we're eating, as well as the recipes that we're making. Be more active. On a day like today where it's pouring rain, that's really hard to do or really hard to think about. And at first, when you see this 2.5 hours, it seems daunting. But that's per week, not per day. And so even the 2.5 hours of exercise a week or physical activity a week can be difficult for some based on our schedules. If you have kids or a difficult work schedule, or maybe you work different shifts or that sort of thing, then a lot of times that's very difficult to figure out how we can get that activity in there. If you think about it, we want 2.5 hours accumulative. Doesn't mean 2.5 hours for here and now. Even a 10-minute walk or a 10-minute, just some small exercises in your office or at home or that sort of thing is better than nothing. And it just accumulates over the week. If you have some deficits where it's difficult for you to exercise, there are other options. One of the positive things about COVID was that a lot of our world became a virtual world and we didn't have to go do things in person. And so now there's a lot of opportunities online for individuals to look online and find exercise classes. A lot of what we recommend here with our stroke program is a program called Silver Sneakers, and they also have an online program. And so it changes the activity based on your skill level or your ability, your physical level. And so those are different opportunities to check out. YouTube can be your friend when it comes to this, and finding exercises and activities that are appropriate for your physical activity level. So I suggest going out there and looking. And if you don't want to go out and be out in public and with others in a gym setting, that's fine. There's other opportunities. So just find what works best for you. Set goals. If it's 10 minutes a day, that's a great goal. Just do it and just keep going. If you don't get it done today, then try again tomorrow. There's no such thing as failure with this as long as you keep trying and keep going. And I think that's the biggest thing. And once you hit that goal, say you've done 10 minutes a day for a couple weeks, try 15 minutes a day or 12 minutes a day. Just continuing to increase that goal and then not just stopping with where your original goal is. Walk more. This sometimes is hard. And now that the weather's getting a little bit cooler, it can be easier. Park further away when you're at the grocery store. As I could have a really close walk here at work, or I can tend to park at the back of the parking lot and walk further. And sometimes I do that. I'll admit today it's pouring rain. I didn't do that today. But on some days when it's nice, then I park in the back so that I can walk further. It just gives me a little bit additional of a few more steps in my day. And then sit less. If you're like me, I have a computer job. I'm a nurse, but my bedside days I'm not working at the bedside anymore. So I do a lot here at my desk. And so that's hard. So I have to remind myself and sometimes schedule breaks to say, get up, move, walk down the hallway, walk out to the parking lot. If you are still working or if you have a place where you can walk, that's great. But if nothing else, just get up and move around, stretch, do some toe touches, that sort of thing. Just kind of stretch and move about, get that blood flowing. Quitting tobacco, and I'm going to include any type of smoking, vaping, or any tobacco use, whether it's smoking or chewless tobacco, that sort of thing. Or smokeless tobacco, sorry. So I will admit, I grew up here in Durham, and I grew up in the South, and I had lots of friends and family members who were tobacco farmers, and so our culture here in the South was built on this, and here in Durham, and so it's a different world than when I grew up. I think one of the biggest things is educating yourself about the risk of smoking and using tobacco products. Within 1 year after quitting, your risk of heart disease goes down by half, by 50%. That's huge. And it's the most preventable cause of death in the US, and it's linked to 1/3 of all deaths from heart disease. And that's huge for our society. It damages every bit of your circulatory system, from your heart to your blood vessels, the vessels in your brain, the vessels in your lungs. Every bit of your circulatory system is damaged. I think the thing of it is just you have to decide how you want to quit. And that's sometimes the hardest part. And not going cold turkey is not for everyone, especially if you have a long history of smoking or using some sort of tobacco product or vaping. We see vaping in younger and younger ages these days. And honestly, I don't know that we know all the effects of vaping at this point because it is a newer type of smoking, so to speak. And so make a plan. You have to decide what you want to do. There are medications out there to help. There's more than just over-the-counter gums and patches and that sort of thing now. There's other medications that can help. Talk to your doctor. A lot of our health systems, including Duke and other health systems in the area, have a great smoking cessation program. And so ask what the opportunities are there. There's help, and it's not easy, but it's definitely worth it. So get healthy sleep. I tend to spend some time on this one because I think this is one that we tend to forget about. We know that we should exercise and that we should eat right and that we should not smoke and all the things. But sleep seems to be one of those things we kind of forget about. We want to aim for an average of 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Sometimes people are great at that, and sometimes that's really hard. If you're like me, I'm always like, well, I can just go to bed a little bit later just so I can get the laundry folded, or I can do this. Or maybe you have, if you don't have a schedule or you're retired, that sort of thing. Sometimes those naps during the day tend to make our sleep patterns at night a little more difficult to obtain or to uphold. And so kind of think about what your sleep habits are. We know that poor sleep increases our risk for cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, dementia, depression, and a couple big things here that we're going to talk about later are high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and cholesterol, and then also obesity. It's been shown that good sleep habits have the potential to help you lose weight. And so poor sleep habits can help you gain weight, which is generally not what we want. And so as we develop those more appropriate sleep habits, the benefits include healing our body. That's our time of rest and healing our cells within our body. It improves and makes our immune system stronger. You know, we've lived through the COVID pandemic, and we've had some peaks and valleys with that. And we want a strong immune system, not only for COVID, but other things as well. We're getting ready to come up on flu season. Definitely improved mood and energy. Without that sleep, you just might not feel good. You just might not have that energy to go that extra 10-minute walk or to get up and stretch and move. And better brain function. I think this is one thing that I see for myself is that when I'm tired, I just don't focus as well. I don't think as well. I'm not as creative. I forget things. And so that better brain function is definitely a benefit of sleep. There's lots of things you can do around sleep habits, and there's lots of information on the internet out there for you, as well as different apps and that sort of thing. But the main thing is to have a routine. It's shown that, maybe a warm shower or bath at night, turning the TV and the phones off before you go to bed, maybe having a no phone zone in your room, like no phone or TV in your room. That sort of thing may help, as well as stay into a schedule. And so those things have been shown to be very beneficial to develop to develop good sleep habits. Weight is so important, and everything we've talked about kind of can go back to our weight and that sort of thing, where it comes to healthy eating, when it comes to exercise, when it comes to sleep, all the things can be, um, you know, can work with our weight here. I think the biggest thing is keeping track. Reduce calories in, increase those calories out. Sometimes that's hard to do. As we make more healthy eating habits and healthy food choices, those calories tend to decrease. And then sometimes increasing the calories out, of course, that's done by physical activity. And sometimes that's easier said than done, right? And so sometimes I struggle I have two kids, and so trying to work my exercise and activity time around their schedule can be difficult. So it's sometimes just kind of a juggling game or a puzzle. And then portion control. We're Americans here, and so our portions are huge here. And so there's lots of information on the American Heart website around portion control and diet and that sort of thing, around what is appropriate, how much fruit and vegetables should I have, that sort of thing. Getting active. We, even if it's chair exercises, even if you go online and you find a video or you have a booklet of chair exercises, those can be very beneficial and those do count as activity. And then making those healthy choices. We live in a sort of world of convenience, and that is, makes it difficult to find healthy choices at times. And so just getting your fruits, your vegetables in, those lean meats, and making sure we're making those healthy choices as well as becoming active. And get help. There's lots of help out there. A lot of providers, our physicians, our primary care doctors have weight loss clinics or weight loss expertise within their clinics. And this just helps us get help on different ways to lose weight or maintain a healthy weight. There's different online options as well as different medications and programs that you can use to get help for losing weight or maintaining a healthy weight. Cholesterol. I think cholesterol can be one of the most confusing things for our patients. First of all, is just understanding that not all cholesterol is bad. So when you go to your doctor and you have your annual physical, they probably draw a couple different labs. And one of those is HDL, which is our high density lipids, and those are good cholesterol. And then our lower density lipids are our bad cholesterol. The good cholesterol, the HDL, helps keep that LDL from sticking to the inside of our walls and of our arteries and causing that plaque formation that increases our risk for heart attack and stroke and those sorts of things. And then we look at our total cholesterol overall. What is the LDL and the HDL together? And plus the glycerides and that sort of thing. That looks at our total cholesterol. And then triglycerides are just the level of the common type of fat that's in our body. And that's where we want to look at to see that circulating triglyceride level as well. All of these are important. You may have a really high LDL, bad cholesterol, but a lower HDL. And if we can increase that good cholesterol, that can help lower that bad cholesterol. So it's kind of a balancing game here. Yes, a lot of this is from our diet, but a lot of this is genetic as well. And so we want to look at both of those. I've seen patients that have a horrible diet, but good cholesterol. And then I've seen patients that have a great diet and then bad cholesterol levels. And so it's really kind of it's no one-stop shop for this. So we definitely want to eat smart, mind your diet, and then move more. So as we move, that can help lower our cholesterol levels as well. Know your fats, know healthy fats versus unhealthy fats. There's a lot of fad diets and things like that out there these days. And so know what you're putting in your body and not just listening to what someone says on social media or just a quick fix. Those generally don't work overall to lower our cholesterol levels for the long term. And then, of course, no smoking or tobacco use. And if you're on a medication, take your medication. Some of those do have side effects, and talk to your doctor about those. However, overall, if you take your medication, make sure you're seeing that it's trending down if you have a higher cholesterol level. And then if not, then you want to talk to your doctor about that. What other options do you have? Could you increase the dose? As from a stroke perspective, there's certain anti-lipid agents that we like to see or cholesterol lowering agents that we like to see. But overall, we're happy if you're just taking initiative to lower that cholesterol. It just significantly lowers your stroke risk for us. Blood sugar is a big one. We see a lot of patients with diabetes here in the hospital, and not just in the stroke service, but overall. Understanding your blood glucose and what diabetes is very important. Just because you take in lots of fruit doesn't mean that that's good. So fruit and some of those carbohydrates turn to sugar, and that sugar is what increases your blood glucose It's your sugar level in your blood. Two things happen when that happens. Number one, that food, when it's broken down and it turns into glucose, then it increases your blood glucose. That's okay if your pancreas works effectively and if you are not what we call insulin resistant. What does that mean? Well, that means that the insulin that our pancreas is using and makes is not being used efficiently by our body. Our body just doesn't use it the way it should be. Other things that can happen is sometimes our pancreas just doesn't work as well. It loses its ability to make insulin. Sometimes that's because of older age. There's a lot of different factors that go into diabetes. However, understanding how that all works is important to understanding how to control it. Fasting blood glucose and an A1C are two labs that your doctor or provider may look at when you're there for your physical. The fasting blood glucose tells us where you are without eating, and there's certain normal ranges for that. However, that A1C is where you are for the last 3 months, not just fasting, but overall. So we can see if it's a certain level, if you're generally where your average blood glucose is over 3 months, which is kind of cool. It's kind of like a memory bank of your blood, if you think about it. So it says, hey, for the last 3 months, I've been here. And so that's what it's telling us, which is neat, right? So it kind of records where we've been. But the fasting blood glucose is where we are here and now without eating anything or drinking anything other than water. And that tells us, like, this is how our body's responding to the sugar that's normally in our body without addition of food. So some tips for success. So, of course, eat smart, move more, manage weight, and no nicotine or tobacco. I think we're going to hear this over and over again. It's kind of the same thing, but it is very important. That's how we manage our blood sugar. It doesn't mean you can never have another piece of cake again. It doesn't mean you can never have bread. It doesn't mean you can never have corn or potatoes. It doesn't mean that there's zero starches in your life from now on. It does mean that you have to do those in a sort of in a limited ability or moderate. You have to moderate what you're eating, what you're putting into your body, and understanding what turns to sugar once it's in your body. Blood pressure. So blood pressure is kind of one of my key things when we talk about any type of healthcare. It is kind of it really is a piece of kind of every major cardiovascular issue that there is. And it's extremely important. It can cause all kinds of symptoms, whether it's high or low. And it's really important to monitor. Understanding what your blood pressure is extremely important. So the top number is called our systolic number. And what that means is that's the pressure in the arteries when your heart is beating. So when it squeezes and it beats, that's that pressure in the arteries. The diastolic is the bottom number, and that's the pressure in the arteries between beats or when your heart's at rest, so to speak. So a beat, that pressure is systolic, the top number. When it relaxes and it refills, that's the pressure in the arteries between those beats. Our normal is 120/80 or lower. That is the normal on paper. For some folks, our normal is a little bit lower than that. And I'll be honest, your doctor may try to get you a little bit lower than 120/80. Where we get really worried is when we have a hypertensive crisis, and that's where our systolic or top number is higher than 180, and our diastolic or bottom number is higher than 120. Doesn't have to mean both of those at the same time. It can be one or the other, or both together. That's where we really worry. It's increased stress on your vessels. It's increased stress on your kidneys, on your heart, on a lot of different things. And so that's where we start to worry. It's also a risk factor for stroke as well. Overall, when we see quite a few strokes, it's because they've had a high blood pressure that wasn't treated or was not lowered enough. And so it's concerning for us from a stroke perspective and from a heart perspective as well. We want you to track your blood pressure. So, and I will say this, if your only option is to go to the drugstore and check your blood pressure there on one of the machines, that's better than nothing. But I will say that a lot of it gets used a lot and it isn't always checked and calibrated. So if you can find a machine, maybe on Amazon or Walmart or that sort of thing, where you can take your blood pressure at home. That doesn't, it just may be a little bit more accurate. Plus, you're not up moving around in the store and that sort of thing with those stressors. So if you're at home, it may be a little more accurate. And keep track of that, especially if you are kind of at a place where you think you might have high blood pressure, or if you're on a medication for blood pressure. We want to make sure that medication is still working. If you see that it's high, then try to think about why it may be high. Could be because you had a very stressful day, or it could be because you had a meal with a lot of salt today, or just a variety of different reasons. So try to make little notes around if your blood pressure is abnormal from what it normally is. That way, when your doctor asks, "Hey, have you seen what your blood pressure is? Do you check it at home?" You can give that to them. Again, our tips for success here is to eat smart, move more, manage your weight, no smoking or nicotine, and sleep well. One of the major things with not sleeping is that increase in blood pressure. We have quite a few resources on the American Heart site as well. And there's lots more resources out there around all of the topics that we talked about today. But I did want to share with you some of the resources from American Heart. Not only are these tip sheets for each one of these categories, but there's also a whole brochure about My Life Check. And it goes through each of the content as well. And you can look at that and help kind of see where you are as an individual. There's a whole web page when it comes to the AHA Life's Essential 8 webpage, with lots of resources and information, and it is in English as well as Spanish. Our stroke webpage for the American Heart is a huge resource with different opportunities around information. Some of it's very specific, some of it is very broad, as well as just gaining just different information and just anything you kind of want to know around stroke. And then we also just wanted to put that out there that we do also have a stroke support group here within the Duke system. And this is our email here. And we do go over content like this as well. And then I couldn't do this without giving you the warning signs and symptoms of stroke. And those are be fast. And those include balance, eyes, face, arms, speech, and time. And anytime you have these symptoms, we want you to call 911 and get to your emergency department as soon as possible. Don't wait. Don't take a nap. Don't see if it'll go away. Go ahead and call 911 right away. Olivia, I think that's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Julie. And thank you for this list of resources. Again, we will post this on the TAP blog tab on our website. So you will have access to this. We'll also put it in our newsletter because there was a lot of great information in addition to what Julie said on those fact sheets. I was looking at the blood pressure charts, things that we could reference as time goes on, because as many times as I hear about blood pressure, I can never remember the numbers and what direction they're supposed to be going. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. Julie, thank you so much for your time. Again, we really appreciate it. So I'm going to stop the live stream. Reach out to me with any questions. I can always loop back to Julie, but I'm going to stop the live stream now. And thanks for watching. And then I'm going to stop the recording as well.